Julian was our house guest for a couple of days.
Julian had a habit of staying with friends of friends, and my girlfriend was one of those friends of friends, and so he came to stay with us. I was okay with it under the condition that he leave after 2 days because I had friends coming into town who needed the guest bedroom. With that agreement, he came over to stay with us.
He was, not a great house guest.
He tended to do things like he would take up the whole couch, and I would come home from work, and there he would be on the couch, and I would kind of indicate with my body language that maybe I wanted to sit down, but he never noticed things like that. So I was like, how's your work going, and it must be hard not getting any sleep, or, this kind of small talk. And, he would start talking about, how, important it was for this information to be free, and the trouble that he was getting into with governments or whatever. He's an idea guy.
I think he just ate the leftovers. I think we had leftover pasta in the fridge, and he just ate it.
He took a girl home one night.
We came home and we're like, they seem to be people are home, but no one's around.
And a few minutes later, the bathroom door opens up, and Julian walks out. I guess he'd been taking a shower. He walks out wearing a towel. And a few moments later, this girl also walks out, also wearing a towel. And we sit there and chat, and she makes no sign of leaving. And I believe she spent the night with him in our apartment.
There was something also totally horrible that he did. He, took my laptop.
I presume that he was hard at work on the big WikiLeaks leaks that they eventually did. And he was working on this a lot. He doesn't need very much sleep. He was doing this all not on his own computer, but on my girlfriend's computer. And at the end, when he was done and ready to leave, he wiped the computer, to make sure that, if it fell into nefarious hands, they couldn't track all the work he was doing.
And the way to erase something is he basically wrote a random string of numbers continuously until he had filled up my hard drive. So then I used my laptop, and I'm like, why is my hard drive completely full? Luckily, my boyfriend is somewhat techie, so he, looked and basically discovered that there was, this huge random number string. I mean, we're talking, 20 gigabytes. Huge.
So basically, I decided pretty quickly that, I would let him do his thing and I would do my thing. But I was unable to do that because it became clear as the deadline for him to leave approached that he was not about to leave. When it was a couple of days before, I actually asked him, where are you going next? What's your plan for where you're going to leave? And he'd be like, oh, don't worry, I'm working on it. I have a friend who thinks that maybe they know someone I can maybe stay with and whatever. But he wasn't making any efforts on his own to leave. And in fact, he never did. He was still there when my friends walked in the door.
My husband and I came up to New York City to spend the weekend with my host and his girlfriend. And we arrived into his flat, and there was a sort of translucent-looking, very tall, white-haired man in their living room that my friend was very clearly not happy with. Seemed like a very international sort, very impressed with himself, quite glum and miserable. Tried to small talk with him a bit and got absolutely no response, and then realized, based on my friend's comment, that he was sort of refusing to leave the room in which he had been sleeping. And we didn't really know how to respond to that other than my friend saying, well, Julian's going to have to leave, and him giving some sort of snarly response like, well, I'll take care of it. But he didn't. So my friend and my husband and I went out, I think for dinner down the street, came back. He was exactly where he was before, hadn't moved anything, and so I just stripped the bed and moved his bags out of the room in which he was sleeping so we could sleep there that night.
And I was like, Julian, you really need to leave now. But he still didn't leave. He was like, okay. And then I went to bed because it was really late, and I woke up the next morning and he was still there.
We woke up the next morning, I went out to go for a run, and Julian was still there and sort of looking miserable.
He still didn't leave. He stayed, I think, 2 or 3 days after the point where my friends got there. Just hanging out in our house doing who knows what during the middle of the night when I was asleep. He wasn't the kind of person who was very aware of other people's needs.
Something about bringing in rotted fruit, but I don't remember the details of that. I don't remember for sure, but I seem to remember him bringing in rotted fruit, yes.
darkness is mirroring, you will see light for your